This week I've been dealing with street children and the issues they face whilst out on the street in the local town. And it's a difficult subject to talk about. These boys and girls are not only homeless and hungry, not only have no one to love them, nowhere to sleep, no food in their bellies, often covered in various different types of fungal infections and stuff because of lack of hygiene. Get involved with drugs, but unbelievably, there's even worse things happen to these boys and girls. This week I had to sit and listen to a child tell me that he had been raped by men in the town. It became such a frequent and regular occurrence that it was no longer abuse and rape to him, it was something that happens. So instead of them having to find him, he would go to where this was going on, to be abused. Because that was his physical contact in life, I guess. That was his routine. The young children who were hitting the streets, these men will then take younger boys to that boy, whilst he does things to that child. And thus the vicious cycle continues. And the only way to stop the cycle is to take the children out. And there's no need for these children to suffer like this. All they need is a place to go. If they had a place to go, somewhere safe, where these men can't get to them, they wouldn't have this problem. There is a lot of conversation about UFOs, UAPs, aliens and extraterrestrials at this time. Many are calling it a once in a species lifetime moment where we begin to find out that there is intelligent life from other corners of the cosmos. The current hearings in the US are, for me personally, nothing but the truth coming to light. For I have seen extraterrestrials, I have seen their craft, I have had conversations with them, and I have done so by activating the human body to function in the very way that has been shown and revealed to humanity by many sages and messiahs and teachers. And that is to operate in the spiritually reborn state, and most people don't know what that means. Unfortunately, as Christianity did not bring the mystic into the lives of many, people en masse have told themselves as a game of thought that they are spiritually reborn. But the rebirth is a process outside of thought, and the mind will want to build an image of one that is reborn. And that image doesn't mean that you are. That image doesn't guarantee that the love is present. To be spiritually reborn means that throughout your day, as you walk in this world, you become a state whereby your body no longer represents your personal history, your personal self, and its analysis of this moment. Instead, you become a loving awareness that is moving through this moment. And here is where the only opportunity for man to commit to correct, compassionate, conscious action takes place. For if you are not lovingly aware of every moment that is passing, and you are too busy chasing your desires from your memory of pleasure or for your anticipation of it in the future, as the majority are caught in that situation. You can't bring the love of Christ. It's all words, it's all thoughts, it's all noise. It's not the actual compassionate transformation of man. Now, why do I mention this is that I, over the years, have said that there is a good possibility that the type of human being that you are is an alien slave technology, an ancient one. And inside our own human story, we have seen slavery, and we have seen that many agreed with it, and we have seen that the enslavement of every single corner of the world has taken place. Europeans were traditionally known to be, unfortunately, enslaving people from Africa. Northern Africans were enslaving Europeans way before that happened. The enslavement of one another has been an ongoing issue. The enslavement of people inside the continent of Africa today is still happening by corporate powers overseas or by their fellow Africans here in the continent. And so slavery is there, we know it is. But what we saw was a transformation spiritually, an evolution in our consciousness that said, no, we won't stand for that. The human body is denoted to have fallen. Yeshua says, you therefore must not walk by the fallen body, the flesh, and walk by the spirit. Buddha said that you must overcome and see through the illusion of Maya, and the illusion that the body and its perceptions offers you in regards to how this reality is and how this reality functions. This notion that there is an issue with the body that must be awoken from, that must be stepped out of, is present in every religion, every spiritual teaching. Galatians 5:17. For the desires of the flesh are against the spirit, and the desires of the spirit are against the flesh. For these are opposed to each other, to keep you from doing things you want to do. Romans 8:13. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. Ephesians 4:22. To put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life, and is corrupt through deceitful desires of flesh, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. What part of us is righteous and holy? Is the soul, the loving awareness that we are that permeates all things? What part of us is corrupt? It's the flesh, or the alien slave technology, as many are calling it. Freedom from that technology is the spirit. If we are to look at this, and we are to look at the world around us, is there not the possibility, with our advanced technology and our advanced intellect and our advanced minds and the knowledge available to us, that we can say the Sumerians were correct? The Sumerian creation story, the oldest on earth, says that humans, this current form, was created as a slave from a pre-existing human, the fall of man in Christianity. The fall of man to make us identify with mind and body and not as children of the Most High. Is it not possible we can say the Mayans were correct, that a pre-existing human was used to create the current human form by alien visitors? And is it not possible then to say that potentially advanced, spiritually intelligent life saw this going on, or perhaps even the very same species that did it to us, and said, this is not just. Slavery is not right. It's not fair. This species that you have created as a slave to work for you energetically and physically, potentially. This species deserves freedom. You can look outside of yourself in the internet all you want, but until you look within, you will not awaken the God-given attributes that humans were supposed to have before that fallen, potentially genetic fall that we went through. Now, the Bible actually references these things, the positive interaction, I mean. The book of Ezekiel sees a craft, a flying chariot of fire. And in there, interestingly, in the center of the chariot is a glowing metal. He speaks of light and fire and smoke. And a NASA scientist, an engineer from NASA, heard this and was set about to disprove this theory that Ezekiel had seen a flying spacecraft. He failed to disprove it, so much so that he put a patent on the design and wrote a book about that spacecraft. And so this is not even unfounded in a scientific framework. People can see. But languages of old, you couldn't possibly state. There was a thruster, there was etc. You have this ancient language that they can't possibly configure into modern technology. It would be akin to us trying to explain with our limited technological perspective that which is beyond. Only recently we see the metaverse, and so we can start asking, is this a simulation, for example? Now, in the book of Kings, Elijah is taken up in a chariot of fire that spins like a whirlwind up into the heavens. They all sound like traditional spacecraft that have visited to impart wisdom, to impart positive spiritual development to these men of God so worthy that they got into the book of the Bible. So potent and powerful are these teachers that they were there. And yet they seemed to be hinting, these little clues are left inside, that they were interacting with higher dimensional forces, extraterrestrial life. But our ancient ancestry might well have met humans or other species from extremely advanced civilizations of an alien origin, sentient with civilization, and they would have called them angels. There are men in the Bible who come from the chariots of fire clothed in linen. There are men in the Bible clothed in linen who have a weapon in their hand. They are men of linen who disembark the chariots of fire. It seems to be pointing at modern technology with ancient language of space-traveling folk. Let us let them have their freedom, and let us watch as they progress and evolve and develop. Let us not interfere and affect and afflict their behavior. We as humans, when National Geographic first arrived in Tanzania, they gave bananas to the chimpanzees to study them. The chimpanzees started going to war and murdering each other at a far higher rate due to the introduction of this food source. So we know at our primitive level of understanding that if you interfere with another species, you can totally misalign their behaviors. A far more advanced, intelligent, technologically advanced species would know the same about you and I. And so full disclosure would be a difficult topic. Even today there are those that are too religiously minded. They never followed Yeshua and set their mind free. They followed the institution. And so people will say the whole thing is demonic. Any other intelligent life that's technologically advanced or coming here is all demonic and a deception. There are others who are just too tired of being manipulated by their fellow man, and so they feel that everything happening is an attack on their freedom. And so if you were such an advanced species, you'd be very cautious, because you would see they are not yet free to integrate their religion with our presence. And that can result in terrible results when people all of a sudden say the whole thing was a lie, and then they fall back to where? Do they fall back to some moral compass, or do they fall back to the way our society is currently positioned? into the hedonism and the pursuit of worldly desire, competition with one another. Our species is in a peculiar position, but I think it's very acceptable to say that there is every chance that our human body is an alien slave technology, and enlightenment, spiritual rebirth, spiritual awakening is the return to the original design before we were hacked to make us slaves, that make us turn away from our connection to our source, to our creator, and look to a different connection as we are so lost and voided without it. And in that we turn to a new master, and that master once enslaved us. And so inside our human story, there are testimonials. Men of great standing with no reason to lie, who were in charge of nuclear facilities, who said flying saucers came and disarmed all the nukes, as if they were testing or showing us, you are not wise enough for the intelligence that you have harbored. You lack wisdom, and so don't worry. If you go too far, we'll switch it off, we'll disengage it. I've seen a craft. I know they have technology far exceeding our own. Perhaps, just perhaps, now that we have the opportunity, as the species we are, that the last son of Adam came, that human Yeshua who came with the new DNA that's not fallen, so we're not trapped in the 3D dimension perceptions alone, in the fleshly pursuits. We have the opportunity to walk in the pure, the higher pursuits of a man, that now we have been left alone, to do our thing, to be observed, to be monitored carefully, just in case, so as we don't become endangered or destroy absolutely everything. Perhaps. But what I will say is that there is one story that I feel needs seeing. And this is the story of the school in Zimbabwe, that an extraterrestrial craft landed and met the school of children there. And it spoke to them, and it said to these children telepathically, technology is not the right road for you. You're going to destroy your home. You should pursue a different road. Go a different way. Don't do as we have, it would seem they were saying.
We were playing down over there on the log.
Yeah?
And then we saw something shiny, so we all ran down over there.
And it was in the early morning?
It was at break time.
Yeah?
And then we saw something shiny. And we saw two people. They were in tight black suit. And they had big eyes. And we didn't actually see their nose, but it was quite small. And their mouth was quite small as well.
We came away convinced that an extraordinary event occurred here.
I think they want people to know that we're actually making harm on this world.
How did that get communicated to you?
It came through my head.
Somehow there was a message about pollution from the way he was staring?
Yes.
I was just a hard-ass journalist. I could handle war zones, but I could not handle this UFO thing.
I mean, I never felt this could derail my career.
The dean wanted to know, what is he doing?
Angels, yes. Extraterrestrials, no.
John is lost at this time.
This journey is literally to pick up the pieces and put them back together.
Oh my gosh.
I was right on the log when it actually happened.
We are the ones who drew those funny pictures.
Something that I'll never ever forget.
I've drawn this again.
But I usually kept it quiet.
People think you're crazy.
My husband doesn't even know about it.
You feel so alone in society.
Why is it that we tend to want to shrink this powerful phenomenon to our notions of reality rather than being able to stretch ourselves to expand what we know and to admit that we don't know?
Would you like to see him again?
Yes.
And if you saw him again, what would you do?
I'll ask him some questions.
What would you like to ask him?
I'll ask him what is he doing on Earth and what does he want with us.
If we as a human species, the song Amazing Grace was written by a slave master who ended up fighting to end slavery. Beautiful song. if we can find that spiritual evolution inside of us, a more advanced species can find it too. And that means that very much potentially we are an alien slave technology in our current form, but we are on our way to evolving free of it. And as we are watched, and as we are guided, and I stand here as a man who has built this organization that has hundreds of employees, is helping hundreds of children, has helped thousands of children over its lifetime, has helped to develop a part of this country that was not developed when we arrived here. I say undoubtedly that extraterrestrials have helped us to do that. In the same way God has called on me to rescue a dog from another species, I very much believe that they have been called sometimes to assist us. I do not replace the angelic with them, nor do I replace the notion that there is the demonic. But I do feel that sometimes demonic encounter is a misrepresentation of interdimensional extraterrestrial forces who do not agree, as with inside the human story, with the end of slavery, or with fighting and using force and power to get what you want. There are those who have awoken to the Christic, that are intelligent and technologically advanced in my view, and there are those who have not yet awoken to it, and yet they are technologically advanced. And those interdimensional forces do come here and do use us energetically, but they are not demonic, but they can be mistaken as demonic. The difference being a demon has no body. E.T. that believes upon survival of the fittest has a body, but they still move interdimensionally. And with that said, there's no telling if from another dimension of technology, if you have a body that's rooted in another dimension, if the fallen angels are real in your mind, why would they not pursue technology? Why? Why would they not? That perhaps you could even build yourself 3D avatars that you experience this reality within. And some of the smaller extraterrestrial species people believe to be that indeed. And so I wanted to make this at this time, just this little video at the beginning, and now I'm going to cut in some other elements of things that I've seen and said about this. The ability to see through it, the ability to awaken and overcome the world. Is it simply the escape from an alien slave technology, and we have already been liberated and left to develop by those benevolent advanced forces who said, enough is enough. Slavery of this nature, it's not acceptable anymore. There's every possibility that this is the reality that you live in. And there's a lot of evidence that stacks up to say so. God bless, guys. Be well. I watched as a craft just appeared over our garden slowly. And this craft was huge. It was phenomenal in size, and it was triangular. And on each corner of the triangle was this warm yellow-orange glow. There were no forward-facing lights, they were only facing down from the bottom of this craft, this UFO. And it flew over, and I saw it first at the beginning of the tree above us. We were laying on the edge of being under a magnolia tree here. And I pointed with my hand without any words, and Fritzi jumped up and shouted, "What the F?" like this. She was so shocked by what she saw, and she never swears. But Fritzi does not swear, she's very delicate. So it was totally so startling. And we watched as it passed over, and it was gone. I was at the hospital last night with one of the children. He went into a series of very violent seizures and just wouldn't stop. So we took him, and I was thinking about you guys. I was thinking, some of these people, they'll just be waking up now and making their breakfast, completely oblivious to the fact that because in their heart they decided to reach out and share with what we're doing for these children here. I was able to have fuel in my car and to be able to drive to the hospital with money for the bills to make sure that Joshua could get the treatment to put a stop to his seizures. Without intervention, he would have seizured possibly until death or until irreparable brain damage last night. And this place only exists because of you guys, and you have no idea what you've just done. At every given moment, I can't share what is happening, but every given moment, when you share with us, you're the one healing them. That's what I was thinking while I was driving. While you're sleeping in your bed, or going about your daily work, oblivious to the idea that you're saving a child's life here. It's pretty amazing. God bless.